Good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national and Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
They are, Robert. And this portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. What a great organization. Hey, it's Friday and we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we are just checking in. We always have a great show with you and talk about what's going around in the state and specifically what you're doing. And again, it looks like you got a big week ahead of you, and also you've done a lot since we've last talked. So again, welcome.
Thank you. Matakiape, everybody. It hardly feels like it's been a week already, but what an incredibly very, very quick week that happened. And I think we're all just staying very, very busy these days.
Absolutely. What you got a lot of prep and things like that. You're going to be heading out of town, I hear. Talk a little bit about that, maybe.
Yeah, I was invited by the American Federation of Teachers. They're having a conference down in Houston, Texas. And as a former teacher, and I think a lifelong educator, I was invited to join a number of other women to be in a table talk around human rights and women's rights and indigenous rights as well. And so there'll be me representing as as a Native American, and then there'll be somebody else from across the country that will be giving the perspective of from the Native, so we Native American, the African American, the Latinx, the Asian American. We all have, we'll be kind of bringing our perspective and our life experiences to that discussion under that table from the AFT. So it'll be really interesting. I think I'll be interested in hearing and seeing what the other women have to say.
It's interesting, and I have found a lot of similarities, especially when we reach out with our BIPOC relatives. But also, sometimes it changes from state to state too, in a lot of things. So yeah, imagine it will be very interesting.
Yeah, I just pulled it up, and Representative Barbara Jordan, who is the first African American woman elected to Congress from Texas, is going to be our keynote speaker there. And back in the day, 1976, she made a statement that went, what the people want is simple. They want an America that is good as its promise. That is, that as a nation, we live up to our historic promise of equality and opportunity. And as we all know, the promises, historic promises and equality, especially for our folks of color and our Native American communities, they just haven't lived up to that. And so we'll have I think a lively discussion on those cases and how the communities that we represent are affected by those broken promises, and how we're doing to get around it and, do better with less.
Yeah, I always think too, the 1% and the other people, they want to divide us. So it's always good to go to things like this and hear what everyone has to say, so we find a common ground.
Yeah, I mean, at the legislature, there often are times to break apart or fracture groups or caucuses that are working on oftentimes touchy situations or uncomfortable legislation. I mean, I think around this whole issue in the Middle East is certainly doing that at this time. But here in Minnesota, we have what we call the Posse Caucus, People of Color and Indigenous. We began this caucus when I was in the Minnesota House, and the number of folks of color that were getting elected every 2 years, because you have to get elected every 2 years in the House, it was growing and growing. And so we came together as a solid unit, I mean, a really solid unit, and support each other as we go forward on a lot of the legislation that affects folks of color. And we have that in the Senate as well. So we have the House and Senate Posse Caucus. And there are always people that are trying to, put a fission between all of us, fracture us off, because we're a growing powerhouse. We really do. I mean, there have been times where the Posse Caucus has been able to do better legislation with the leverage that we have. And so, that's always the name of the game. But I think when, those groups that would like to divide and conquer us realize how strong we are, they find other ways to annoy us. It's just like mosquitoes. If they can't get in the house, they're going to find a way to get in another way. So,
Right. Well, and it's for us to be aware too, because you kind of touched on what's happening overseas, and there's many ways, whether it's media or messaging that can make us mad. I know one of the things that was really weird messaging is when they were sending people from the border to New York, and the big messaging to our African American relatives was that these people are going to take your services away because they're coming to New York, and that's just a huge, big lie.
mhm. Oh, I know. Anytime there's a group that comes in that needs that special attention, they need that support right from the start. There are those that will look at it as not as a like, look at these great new people that are coming to our community to become community members, to work in our community, to have homes and build a future in our community. They look at them as they're taking away from us. And I just always
Right.
think, in the history of the United States, there's always been immigrants. There's always been immigration. And it's always the newest group that seems to get, trod on so horribly by the other group. And then they start to, like you said, beat each other against each other
Right.
so that they don't build those alliances. And I just wish humanity was not like that. This has just been a really hard week when you look around at the inhumanity. So
Yeah.
heavy
Yeah.
burdens.
Yeah, really, really good point there. I just got to remind you too that we're natives are the non-immigrants here, and we were
Right.
open-handed to the Europeans until they kept on coming and coming and taking and taking. So, uh,
Yep.
talking out of both sides of their mouth, because, like you said, everybody except us Native Americans are immigrants, and we should
Hmm.
be treated better and remember that. So
Hmm.
we have short memory here in this country.
Well, you know what it's like. We are always educating people around the accurate history of America. It's interesting, with what's going on in the Middle East and the language that's being used, like colonizer and settler and those sort of things. Talk about, well, maybe when we come back, we should talk about it because I think we just have a few seconds left, about our GOP members trying to take that language and use it against us.
Yeah. Well, they're good at that. And one of the funny things, too, is just nationally, too, how the Republicans are trying to blame the Democrats for not selecting a speaker. And it's like, what? what world is this? But I think when they voice that out to their constituents, and that's all the news that they get is this lies. They say it enough times, people do believe it. So
Yeah.
we're worried about that, and especially with AI coming up here in this next election cycle. So hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Native Roots Radio.
Stay with us.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The Electric Fetus is hosting a special after-hours clearance sale this Friday night from 6 to 10 p.m. Over 4,000 new records are 60% off. 1,000 used vinyl titles and 2,000 used CD titles are only 99 cents each. The gift department has hundreds of items marked way down, some starting at just a quarter, while almost everything else is 20% off. So do some night shopping at the Electric Fetus with their after-hours clearance sale this Friday from 6 to 10 p.m. Find the Electric Fetus at 2000 South 4th Avenue or at electricfetus.com.
When a drunk driver hit my car, the structural integrity and safety features of my Toyota Sienna saved my life. I will always own one. That's it. That's the ad. I don't think I need to add anything else, but I'll gladly mention their sales team is attentive and friendly, their service department is the best in the state, and their vehicles, you can put a lot of faith in the quality and safety of a Toyota vehicle. The structural integrity and safety features of my Toyota Sienna saved my life. I will always own one. That says it all. Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Getting bus and train information in your language just got easier. Customers who call Metro Transit at 612-373-3333 are able to select language options at the start of the call. Access Next Trip, their automated real-time schedule information tool, and other Metro Transit assistance by calling 612-373-3333. For more information about other transit informational tools, visit metrotransit.org/tools.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh and Minnesota State Senator, and it's Friday, and we're talking about the week ahead and the week behind us, and we got a little discussion here before the break, and maybe we can rejoin that a little bit and talk a little bit about the insanity of our relatives that are called Republicans. Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, in Minnesota, our Democrats have the majority in the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And so, our policies are going to be the policies that are going to pass during the legislative session. And, I honestly believe that every dollar that we spend, that every policy that we create is towards the end of being good stewards of each other, good stewards of the lands, and really looking out for the future, for the next, 7 generations, as we like to say. But we get pushback from our GOP members, no surprise there. But what's interesting is now how they are trying to, we were talking earlier about, putting a wedge between groups. And I think the Republicans have decided that that's what their MO is going to be, because, we had that issue with our SROs. That was a big wedge issue. Now the Middle East is a huge wedge issue. And now there's this letter to the Governor Walz from Republicans, that is asking him to a revision of the newly accepted social studies standards. And so they want the governor to direct the commissioner of education to immediately retract the notice of intent to adopt these new standards. And these new standards are new in that they tell the real authentic history of our countries. We just had Indigenous Peoples Day. The
Right.
legislature instructed schools to provide at least just 1 hour on that day of some kind of authentic instruction for their students. Many schools did not. Many schools did not, and I'd like to know personally why that is. Um, but there's no information in our social studies standards that would help. Well, there is, but it's minimal, and it's kind of glazed over, and it's not really and true and authentic. And so our GOP members want us to convene a new stakeholder group to remove the harmful and hateful language currently included in the proposed standards. And while I agree with them that hate has no place in our school or our academic standards, their issue are with words like settler, colonialism, anti-colonialism, all of those things. And they're connecting it to what's going on over in the Middle East.
Wow.
So they're taking it totally out of context and distorting the whole, the objective of the curriculum and the new standards. And, this is just another example of how they're going to attempt to put that wedge between us. But that's all they can do. I mean, they've got nothing else to do because they're pretty powerless not being in the majority.
Yeah, they're the party, again, for nothing, and they are the chaos caucus here
Yeah.
now, and it's not just nationally, it's locally too, and it's sad because, Mary, you're roughly the same age as it wasn't that way before.
Mm-mm.
Which we had Republicans, governors, senators that wouldn't even recognize the Republican Party because they were doing what they could for their people and not uh, doing things that would just make one person happy, a former president or whatever. But it's just insane.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's really heartbreaking.
Hmm.
Um, it's no fun being in the minority. I'll admit that. But I for one, and I would say 100% of my members would happily work with the Republicans in a really positive way, and not a destructive way. And that just hasn't been possible. There's a couple examples of where there's good friends. Republicans and Democrats have been good friends
Hmm.
in public, and then when the time comes to support each other, for whatever reason, it's just not possible. And so I would love to be able to have that kind of a you know positive relationship with our GOP members, but I don't see it anytime soon.
Well, they say so crazy things like teachers are indoctrinating people. And let me tell you, if I could had that kind of power over my students, the boys would be wearing deodorant and they would be off their phones. So give me
Yeah,
a break.
I know. I know. I hear that. I hear you. It's a big issue. And it really, how much of this is tied to the mental health crisis in our country, I don't know. But I had a really great discussion with the Division of Indian Works. They convened a meeting this week to talk about how we can address some of these issues, these mental health issues, in our students and in our community. And I really want to thank them over there and Senator Kelly Morrison came from her neck of the woods to join us. And it's such an important thing. Everything that's going on just weighs heavy on our minds and our hearts and our souls, and it certainly has a negative and mental stress to each one of us. I mean, I've been walking around with a knot in my stomach for days, and um, we just need to stop doing this to each other in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the Chaos Caucus, and we touched a little bit too, just how they can't get a House Speaker. We have a House Speaker now that's running that was a big part of January 6th, that will be third in line if he would win. Also has really big issues with alleged sexual misconduct as a wrestling coach and covering up. So it just amazes me that they can talk out of both sides of their mouth. You know, they wanted Hillary to go to jail in 2015, and now they don't want Trump to go in jail because he's running for president. So, I mean,
Yeah.
again, speaking out of both sides of the mouth.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Haley, how do you feel, Gen Z? You got to get these people out.
You know, I know we're trying, and it's heartbreaking. I wish I could say I didn't see this coming. Growing up, just with the way that America was on course to run, and it's really disappointing, and it's scary to think about the type of future that I'm gonna have, and maybe my future kids are gonna have, and I just know that the whole Gen Z we're ready for some positive change here.
yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, Haley and Mary, I think the most surprising thing for me in the last 5, 6 years is how really delicate our government is. How one person could have really done some major damage if it came to Biden's election and turning it into something totally different, and then having a Trump in there still because he's looking for 10,000 votes, and he's asking Pence not to sign the election, and how delicate our government is.
Yeah. I mean, we really came close to a big mess
Mhm.
if Trump had had a second term. I just can't even imagine what would be going on right now. It would be a whole different world that we're living in. And like you said, it can, even in local elections, it can be just the difference between 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 votes that can flip things. And, it might not always flip for the good.
Right, and I don't know what the long game plan is because, well, and I don't. Yeah, it's just amazing here, and we look at Haley here on this live feed, and it's just like, yeah, I thought things were bad in with Nixon, and then then Reagan, and then Bush wasn't very smart. And then the next Bush wasn't very, very smart, but he got elected twice. And so the pendulum always swings way left and then way right. And hopefully it's swinging way back left again.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Well, it is here in Minnesota, and we're thankful, very thankful to be Minnesotans. Yesterday we had Senator Agard from Wisconsin, and, it's hard to listen to what they're going through for many reasons. They want to legalize marijuana, and she's going on a tour for that, but it's also deeper than that, how our neighboring state is, and a couple of our neighboring states are really struggling and are under, Republican rule, and that's why they're struggling.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness we're living in Minnesota, and we put out some tobacco for our neighbors across the Midwest, because that could easily be us. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we'll be right back after the short message. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Stay with us.
The Electric Fetus is hosting a special after-hours clearance sale this Friday night from 6 to 10 p.m. Over 4,000 new records are 60% off. 1,000 used vinyl titles and 2,000 used CD titles are only 99 cents each. The gift department has hundreds of items marked way down, some starting at just a quarter, while almost everything else is 20% off. So do some night shopping at the Electric Fetus with their after-hours clearance sale this Friday from 6 to 10 p.m. can find the Electric Fetus at 2000 South 4th Avenue or at electricfetus.com.
October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. If you are experiencing domestic or sexual violence, Strong Hearts advocates provide culturally appropriate support and advocacy for Native Americans and Alaska Natives. Free, confidential, anonymous, 24/7. Strong Hearts advocates are Native American and take a Native-centered approach to every contact. Call or text 1-844-762-8483. That's 1-844-7-NATIVE, or chat online at www.strongheartshelpline.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
The Mary T family of companies serves seniors and people with a wide range of disabilities. We provide home health care, hospice services, and accessible rental housing. This is Mary T, and we'd like you to join us. We're hiring direct care professionals, CNAs, nurses, and other support services. Our mission is to provide quality, personalized services to meet the unique and evolving needs of the people that we serve. Join a Minnesota family-owned company that was founded on a history of care. Apply today at marytinc.com/careers.
Bonjour, hello. My name is Wabin. I am an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation, descendant of the Navajo Nation, and co-chair of the Indigenous Employee Resource Group with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. MnDOT is hiring for a variety of positions from road maintenance to accounting and more. We offer great benefits. For more information or to set up a one-on-one resume and application assistance, visit mn.gov/careers, or you can text or call 612-257-2388. 612-257-2388.
Getting bus and train information in your language just got easier. Customers who call Metro Transit at 612-373-3333 are able to select language options at the start of the call. Access Next Trip, their automated real-time schedule information tool, and other Metro Transit assistance by calling 612-373-3333. For more information about other transit informational tools, visit metrotransit.org/tools.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 49, Saturday partly sunny with a high near 58, and Sunday sunny with a high near 59. Discover the magic of Crooner's Supper Club. From the incredible shows to the cozy ambiance of Maggie's Lounge, there's no better place to spend an evening with friends, family, or that special someone. Crooner's Supper Club is located off Moore Lake and Highway 65. More at croonersloungemn.com.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Support honest Native news from natives themselves. Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Geez, that sounds like a good group to support. I'm all about it. Hey, we're back here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and it's our Friday show. It's pretty laid back and what's going on. I know we talked about some past events, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what's coming up this week and what you've heard, State Senator, because sometimes we don't hear the same things. That Moccasin Highway isn't always, or the smoke signals, or however you get your information, isn't always out there for everyone. So welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I did mention that I'll be heading down to Houston, Texas for an event on Saturday, but the new movie is coming out, Killer of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And I am looking very much forward to seeing that. I've read the book and, you know, some facts around the whole situation there. And so I am looking forward to seeing the movie and I've heard good reviews, but then I've also heard that maybe it doesn't have enough of the native perspective. So I guess it's up to us to decide.
Well, I'm just happy that a story like this could be told because it's been hidden for so long, and how it's being told is, you have Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro and those guys, and they're telling the story, and a lot of the story has to do with the beginning of the FBI. And
Yeah.
I know during production they changed it more from what happened to the Native Americans as opposed to how the FBI started. So there has been some switch. Of course, when you don't have natives telling their own story, that is an issue. But I think we're grateful that this story's coming out.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know really quite what it is, it's based on a book, and the author David Gruen and traces the really horrifying series of killings that rocked the Choctaw Nation. Was it the Choctaw Nation? Uh, Gosh,
It's Osage, isn't it?
Yeah,
Osage. I'm sorry, the Osage Nation, and it was all due to the fact that the Osage folks had money from oil and oil earnings, and through a lot of really nefarious ways, non-natives infiltrated those families and then set out to eliminate them. And so it's really fascinating. And because of that, because of these killings, they brought in the investigators, and it was kind of the beginning of the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because at that level, Native communities and tribes and reservations are still under federal purview. And so it went to the federal investigators to investigate these murders. So it should be pretty fascinating.
right. And Osage tribal members were per capita the richest people in the world. They were
Hmm.
pushed on a rock and removed and moved to this area, and by a stroke of luck, they still own their air and ground rights, and they struck oil right at the right time there and became super rich. In order to steal those rights, they married into the family, and it was just like a huge, huge conspiracy that was
Yeah.
going on and on about the mineral rights and also the murders of these Native American women and men. And it was,
Yeah. I mean, it was women. Like, these guys would marry women, actually
right,
have a kid or two, and then kill them off. It
right.
was atrocious. So that'll be another good discussion for us. But tonight there is an interesting discussion that I don't think that I can get to, but I really, really hope to. There's a book discussion on Rebecca Claren's book, The Cost of Free Land.
Mm.
And that's at the Minnesota History Museum Center tonight at from 7 to 8:30. I have my little granddaughters with me tonight, and I don't know how they would do. Maybe I'll make them take a late nap while they're napping now. But yeah, this book it's an award-winning book. It's called The Cost of Free Land: Jews, Lakota, and an American Inheritance.
Mm.
And after the book talk, there'll be a discussion with Chris Stainbrook from the Indian Land Tenure Foundation and Robin DeRocho of the Jewish History Society of the Upper Midwest. And the book basically is an investigation of the federal policies that gave her ancestors, who happened to be Russian Jews fleeing oppression,
Mhm.
land and the opportunity on the South Dakota prairie, and how those policies came with an immense, immense cost to their Lakota neighbors.
Right.
And so I think this is going to be a fascinating talk. I wish it was online because I would surely watch it remotely. But it just sounds so fascinating to me.
Right. And, speaking on history and, it's hard to remember history, and it's good that we have places like this that can remind us what happened, because we have such a short memory, but we also how far back can you remember? It's like, my grandparents,
Hmm.
that's only 2 generations, and, what
Hmm.
about their parents and their parents, and what did they have to do, and how did they struggle? I mean, there's many stories in our native community, but I don't think, um, our white relatives really know how far, and they don't wanna remember a lot of things too because of the trauma, and, but we have stories, and we talk about stories as Native Americans about, things that happen and who our elders are, and we name a lot of our relatives after our relatives that are
Yeah.
gone now. So it's different, but it's still you gotta stay in touch with your family to know, people are gonna forget us if we don't do that and forget our relatives.
Yeah. And so much of our history was lost
Mhm.
when our ancestors were killed because there weren't those to hand down the stories or tell us about our ancestors. I mean, growing up, my grandpa told us about a lot of good stories. He made the reservation on Standing Rock sound pretty exciting, and like, wow, there's that little song that says way down yonder in the oh, where how does it way down yonder, um riding my horse on the prairie. It's just it's just a really nostalgic song. And he's gone now,
Right.
and his sisters are all gone, his brothers are gone. So we're piecing together a lot of our history. And I have a cousin here in the Twin Cities, Mona Susan Power, who it's so interesting because her mom was my grandpa's cousin. And her, Mona Susan knows and remembers is similar to what we know and remember, but it's a little bit different. And everybody remembers situations a little bit differently. And so, in the last year or so, as we've been talking about different circumstances and different relatives, like, she has a unique perspective about that ancestor, and we have a unique perspective. And somehow we have to, kind of come to terms with maybe both of those perspectives are the truth, but we're just looking at it from a different way. But that's because we're talking to each other. If
Yeah.
you don't have those ancestors to share those stories, unfortunately they get lost. And for me, that's really heartbreaking.
That isn't the author you're talking about, is it? Because there's a
She
Su
is the author. Yeah. Yeah.
what's the name of her book? It was a really famous, book. I have
Well,
it in
she has her first one was The Grass Dancer.
Yes, yes, that's it.
And she just put out a new book. I'm going to just, and I'm not being biased, I think it's one of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
It's called A Council of Dolls, and it's up for a national book award, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a lot of my family history in there. It's a fictional book,
Mhm.
but, as I read it, I recognized certain things.
Yeah.
And it was at times kind of hard to read. I had to put it down a couple of times because it hit close to to home on a couple of the stories that were in there. But it's about three Native girls, and they all have a doll that plays an important part in their life, and how that doll played an important part in that life. There's a lot of twists and turns in it, but it's an excellent book. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Years ago, I took a class, I think it was Native American literature, and she taught a class at the U.
Yep.
I
Yep.
remember I remember meeting her, really interesting. Hey, before we get going, and let you go, I just wanna remind everyone out there, Mary, that we're gonna be at the, uh, Historical Society, Center tomorrow, at 1 o'clock, and we're going to be live on Saturday, and we're going to have a lot of things happening. It's free, and it's reframing our stories, and it has that great from the Minnesota Historical Society, that great collection of pictures, and sounds like it's an organic, still in development, where people can come up and talk about these paintings, and I mean these pictures, and their family, and who they recognize. So it's going to be exciting to go to this at the History Center in downtown St. Paul. So everyone, if you don't have anything going on tomorrow, stop on down there.
Wow, didn't that picture look like straight out of Res Dog?
Yeah, it sure did. And they were at the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, State Senator Mary Kunesh, for stopping in and talking to us and letting us know what's happening. And it's really important for us to have this conversation. So again, thank you for coming on.
You bet. My pleasure. Popula.
All right, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
At Metro State University, change the world your way. Students learn from expert instructors in high-demand degree programs including healthcare, technology, cybersecurity, teaching, and business. As one of the most diverse universities in Minnesota, Metro State is a learning community dedicated to equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. Explore 60-plus high-quality bachelor's degree programs at Metro State University's open house events, in person October 17th and online October 19th. Sign up at metrostate.edu/open house. Know your power. Metro State University.
It's time to experience the amazing flavors of eatlocalminnesota.com. It's your key to unlocking the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities. See how eatlocalminnesota.com can point you to that perfect one-of-a-kind spot.
If you're craving barbecue, then don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue, located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Scott Jamama's offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. The potato salad, spicy baked beans, and twice-baked potatoes should not be missed. More details at scottjamamas.com. Explore the award-winning, spirited Midwestern flavors at 30 Bales in Hopkins. Priding themselves as a scratch kitchen using the cleanest, most local ingredients they can source, join 30 Bales for lunch, dinner, or their scrumptious weekend brunch. Conveniently located at 1106 Main Street in Hopkins with plenty of free parking. See their menu at 30bales.com.
Hi, this is Philip Anthony, the host of the Downright Upright Show, the place to go to hear out loud and proud what Minnesotans are thinking. I interview many interesting people and listen to their thoughts on how they plan to better our community and to hear their opinions on current events. Join us and get in on the conversation. You can listen to my podcast, The Downright Upright Show with Philip Anthony, wherever you listen to podcasts or at am950radio.com. So come and join me and continue being fantabulous.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Good one, Wendy. Hey, I want to introduce my awesome and beautiful wife, Wendy. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and I've learned so much over the years with you, talking about our sacred animals, and I don't know what you got planned for us, but it's kind of a Fun Fact Friday, but maybe it's going to be something else. Welcome, Wendy.
Hey, everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajingo, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the state and local level, and it's always my pleasure to do so. And as you said, Robert, today is Fun Fact Friday. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! So in our backyard, we have like a little menagerie of little wild animals that come visit because I throw food out and seeds and peanuts and corn and all kinds of things. We have
Crows. The crows were
Yeah.
looking for you today.
Well, yeah, we have bird feeders and a bird bath. By the way, I want to get a heated bird bath for the winter.
I
Yeah.
bet you that online store that you buy things on every day might have
Oh
one.
no,
Yeah.
because we keep water out in a water dish also that's heated, so we just plug it in and leave it. But anyway, I swear I saw like 6 chipmunks out there today.
Wow.
Yeah, they're gathering up. It's their time of year. But seeing chipmunks scurrying around, some people might be tempted to catch them and relocate them to prevent the little holes they might make in their lawn. But here's the reason why you shouldn't. Please don't. Relocation isn't a humane solution, especially this time of year. A chipmunk spends the entirety of fall collecting an enormous stash of nuts and acorns for its underground larder. I never heard that term before, larder. I guess that's their little home. When winter arrives, it retreats into its burrow and eats only food it was able to store in the preceding months. So when you relocate a chipmunk, you take away from its hard-earned stash of winter food, leaving it to starve.
Wow.
I guess that's not a fun fact, but it is a fact. So
Right.
chipmunks relocated to new areas are also often chased away by competitors and left without any space for warmth and safety. So please leave your chipmunk neighbors in peace. They mean you no harm, and they are simply trying to survive. So I think we have chipmunks that live under our front stoop.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's where they are. But I found an article here, and here's Lucy. She is here for Fun Fact Friday. 50 strange and fascinating facts about animals. And this came from Country Living, and it's by Ellen Sturm-Nitz. And this goes back quite a few years, but still the facts are the facts, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with some of the facts. A dog's sense of smell is between 10,000 and 100 times better than a human's.
What?
Yeah, but they have just 1/6 of our number of taste buds. So they, I didn't know that they had less
That's why
taste
they
buds
gobble down that crappy food, smelling
really fast. Like Wanda,
Yeah.
I don't even think she chews the food. She just like
inhales it.
inhales it. She really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tigers can eat 40 pounds in a single meal. After such a big meal, they can go as long as a week without eating anything.
I thought you were going to say they're going to take a cat nap after all that
I'm
food.
sure that they do. 40 pounds is a lot of food.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wouldn't eat after that either. Horses use their ears and eyes to communicate with each other. So far, Mr. Ed is only talking horse.
He talks to people. I don't know if he talks to other horses.
A lot of people don't even know who Mr. Ed is if they're born like before when, do you think?
World War.
I mean, I
II.
remember Mr. Ed,
horse
and
of
I was
course,
I was
horse
a
of
little
course.
kid watching Mr.
He'll
Ed.
give
He
you
was the
the answer
talking
that
horse.
you'll adore. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed.
Oh my gosh, you know the whole
People go lap the street and waste their time a day. But Mr. Ed never speaks unless he has something to say.
Oh my God.
And then there's another chorus, but he goes, I am Mr. Ed.
And then he flaps his lips and you see his teeth, right? Oh my God, Robert, that's amazing.
You married me for a reason.
I know.
You're not sure, but that might be one.
Ooh. Honeybees can flap their wings 200 times every second. Yeah. Here's another thing about honeybees. They hibernate underneath like old leaves and stumps in your yard. So don't do any cleanup.
We got a lot of stumps out
Don't.
front.
We have a stumpery. So we have our front yard, which is a prairie garden, and we have lots of, always we see so many butterflies, bees, birds, everything out there. But we have what's called a stumpery in our yard. So a stumpery is just a pile of stumps that are rotting away and like has like a whole little ecosystem in there.
Yeah, I can't wait until the what would it be? Oh, there's a dog out there.
Well, there's Wanda for Fun Fact Friday. There we go, Wanda. No barking. Quiet. So I'm going to talk about penguins. Certain types of male penguins propose to their females by giving them a pebble, which brings a whole new meaning to the phrase nice rock.
The cat like that.
Oh my gosh, Robert, our squirrely friends who we have outside.
Some white, some gray.
Yeah, we have two or three white albino squirrels that come from across the street. We're always worried about that.
Yeah.
They seem to look both ways though. Squirrels can't vomit or burp. So don't try to blame your picnic lunch belch on one.
Belch?
Picnic lunch belch on one. That's what it says.
Wow.
Ever wonder why flamingos stand on one leg?
Never knew that.
Yeah, they stand on one leg
to
stay warm. Keeping one leg close to the body conserves heat. Do you know why? This is not on this thing, but do you remember?
Don't make stuff
I'm not going to make it up, but we learned it one time. Why flamingos are pink?
Why?
Because they eat shrimp. That's their most what they eat, and that's what makes them pink. Yeah.
But now that you mention it,
I know. Anteaters can consume 35,000 ants and termites in a single day.
Wow.
That's really good.
Aardvarks?
Anteaters.
Aren't
Anteaters.
aardvarks anteaters?
I don't know. I'd have to Google that. I don't know.
Okay.
Birds have a great sense of sight, but a poor sense of smell. So go ahead and put a baby bird back in its nest. The mother bird likely won't smell that a human has touched their kiddo. Because that's like an old wives' tale.
I think so.
Like the bird, the mother will smell the human smell, but they can't because, Oh, here's one about cats. Where's Lucy now that we need her? Meows are not an innate cat language. They develop them to communicate with us. While cats can make more than 100 different sounds, dogs can only make around 10.
When we first got Lucy, she sounded like a bird. Remember that?
I know.
Now she sounds like she smokes Marlboros and drinks whiskey.
She does. She has a very garbly, grouchy sounding meow. But she's old. She's 17. What do you want from a cat who's 17? A blue whale's blowhole can spray water 30 feet in the air.
Cool.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
That's a good one.
Here we go. African buffalo herds are democratic and feminist. Only adult females can vote for which way to travel. They indicate their choice by standing up, looking in one direction, and then lying back down.
A whale stands up?
That's the African buffalo.
Oh.
Yeah, the herds are democratic and feminist. I like that.
That was a good one. Hey, thanks, Wendy. Again, you've been listening to Fun Facts Friday with Wendy Pilot. We'll see you Monday. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and check out our live show on Saturday.
Ooh, free Leonard Peltier.
Now.